Hello everyone. For this video, I'll be talking to you the classifications of tests according to format. There are actually two major classifications of tests according to its format, according to their formats. One of which is the standardized test and the second one is the teacher-made test. When we say standardized tests, these are actually tests that have been carefully constructed by experts in the light of accepted objectives. And for the teacher-made tests, these are constructed by classroom teachers which measures and appraise student progress in terms of specific classroom and instructional objectives. These are different examples of standardized tests that we need to consider. First is the ability test, of which it combines verbal and numerical ability, reasoning, and computation. Another example of a standardized test is the aptitude test, of which it intends to measure potentials in a specific field or area. It can also predict the degree of which an individual will succeed in any given area, such as art, music, mechanical tasks, or academic studies. These are now the different teacher-made tests that we need to consider, when we are constructing a classroom test. There are two sub-classifications for this teacher-made test. We can have objective type, or we can have essay type, or we can also call it as the subjective type of test. So when we say objective type of test, answers are in the form of a single word or phrase or maybe symbols. And for essay type, essay questions provide freedom of response that is needed to adequately assess students' ability to formulate, organize, integrate, and evaluate information or knowledge and skills. So as you can see in the PowerPoint presentation, there are several types of objective exams. We can classify further objective type of exam as limited response type and the free response type or the supply type of test. Under this limited response, we can use multiple choice type of test. We can also do matching type of test or the true or false type of test, or we can say the alternative response. For the free response type or supply type, which is one category of the objective type of test, we can give short answer. We can give short answer or maybe completion test. Under this essay type of exam, we can use or we can give restricted essays or extended essays. So these are the two types of essay type of exam. We have the restricted and extended. So let's concentrate first to the two objective type of test, which are the limited response type and the free response type or supply type of test. If we define limited response type of test, this requires students to select the answer from a given number of alternatives or choices. While in free response type or supply type of test, it requires students to supply or give the correct answer. So this will be the difference between the limited response type and the free response type or the supply type of test. So under this limited response type of test, as we said a while back, we can use multiple choice type of test, of which it consists of STEM, each of which presents 3 to 5 alternatives or the options in which only one is correct or definitely better than the other. The correct options or choice or alternative in each item is merely called answers or answer, and the rest of the alternatives are called distractors. or we can also call it as decoys or maybe foils. Okay, so these are the other words, okay, other term for the distractors. These are the wrong answers or wrong choices in the given multiple choice test item. So for the true or false or the alternative response, it consists of this declarative statement, okay, that one has to respond or mark true or false. We can also say right or wrong, correct or incorrect, or maybe yes or no, fact or opinion, agree or disagree, and the like. It is a test made up of items which allows dichotomous responses. From the word dichotomous means there are only two possible choices. Okay? As we said a while back, whether it is true or false, whether it is right or wrong, correct or incorrect, yes or no, and among others. So this will be the what we call alternative response or the true or false type of test. For the third type of the limited response in the objective type of test, it is the matching type. Okay? This consists of two parallel columns with each word, number or symbol in one column being matched to a word or sentence or maybe phrase in the other column. The items in column 1 or maybe column A for which a match is sought are called premises. And the items in column 2 or column B from which the selection is made are called the responses. So there are two parts of this matching type of test. We have the premises and the response. Premises is usually located in column A or column 1, while the responses or the choices is located or are located in the column B or column 2. So that is matching type of test. For the free response type, as we said a while back, we can have short answer type of test or this what we call completion type of test. So when we describe or differentiate the two, under short answer, it uses a direct question that can be answered by a word, by a phrase, number, or symbol. While in completion type of test, it consists of an incomplete statement that can also be answered by a word, phrase, number, or symbol. Okay? So the difference between the two is, in the short answer, it is a direct question, while in the completion type of test is they need to fill up or to complete a particular statement. They need to fill up the blank on that particular statement. Okay? So these are the two types of a free response type of test. So let's consider also the subjective type of test, and that is the essay type of test. So as we said a while back, there are two classifications of essays. We can have restricted essay, or we can also go or give extended essay. So our major concern here is to differentiate the two. Okay? So when we say restricted essay, this limits both the content and the response. Content is usually restricted by the scope of the topic to be discussed. Okay? Then for the extended essays, it allows the students to select any factual information that they think is pertinent to organize their answers in accordance with their best judgment and to integrate and evaluate ideas which they think appropriate. Okay? In terms of scoring, it is very difficult to score extended essays. Okay? Because as we know, essays are based from the opinions of the learner. So we cannot immediately say their answers are wrong. Okay? So in giving marks for these essay responses, we need to use a tool which will be our guide in giving marks or scores on these outputs of our student. And this tool is what we call the scoring rubric. Okay? So these are examples of restricted essay. Okay? Restricted essay. First, describe the situations that demonstrate the application of the law or of supply and demand. Do not use those examples discussed in the class. So in this first situation, we have already restricted the response of the students, okay, in answering this particular essay question or essay assignment or essay activity, which is not requiring anymore to present the examples presented during your or their discussion. Okay? So in that case, na-restrict na natin yung possible response ng mga bata. Okay? Do not use those examples discussed in the class or in class. For the second situation, state the main difference between the Vietnam War and the previous wars in which the United States has participated. Okay? Vietnam Wars and previous wars, kunana. However, we will only consider the United States, the participation of the United States. And we know the world, okay, participated different wars, global wars. Okay, so however, in this particular situation, we only concentrate to the participation of the United States. So that's why we have already restricted the topic, okay, in answering that particular essay by simply dealing with the participation of the United States for this Vietnam War and other previous wars. Okay, this is the second scenario. So for the second one, we again restrict this particular question or activity, essay activity. For the third, why is barometer one of the most useful instrument for forecasting weather? Okay, answer in brief paragraph. There are expected fixed answers. Not any answer is accepted. So in this particular scenario, automatically this is a restricted essay question, since based from the possible activity that the students will do on this question, they will just answer it in brief paragraph. So by simply answering it in brief paragraph, it means you are restricting the possible responses of your students in terms of or in a brief way, okay, in a brief way. So this is again an example of a restricted response essay. For the non-restricted or the extended essay response, okay, or essay question, let's consider the following. The first one is, if you were Charlotte, what would you have written in your web and why? Okay, so this is very open-ended question. If you were Charlotte, what would you have written in your web and why? So in this case, you did not restrict the response of your students. Just let them answer, present their ideas and insights if they let themselves as the Charlotte, okay? So magiging open-ended itong question na ito. That's why we will consider this as one example of an extended response essay questions or question. The second scenario or second essay question is, imagine that you and friend found a magic wand. Write a story about an adventure that you and your friend had with the magic wand. Okay? So you let them present a particular story in this case. If, say for example, they found a magic wand, let them write a story about the adventure that they will be doing with this particular magic wand. So writing a story, it is very open-ended. So therefore, the second situation is also an example of a non-restricted or an extended response essay question. For the third, compare the development in international relations in the administration of President William Clinton and President George W. Bush. Cite examples when possible. There are many, okay? There are many examples, okay, that we can give during the administration of President William Clinton and President George W. Bush. Remember, we are answering an essay question in this case, so it is open since the one who presented this question is he presented or he let the test taker to cite examples when possible. So in this case, we are trying to extend the discussion of this comparison on the development of or in international relations in the administration of William Clinton and George W. Bush. So still, the third one is an example of an extended essay question. Okay? And these are the other classifications of a test. First, psychological test. It aims to measure students' intangible aspects of behavior, such as intelligence, attitudes, interests, and aptitude. While educational test, it aims to measure the results, effects of instruction. For the survey test, it measures general level of students' achievement over a broad range learning outcomes and tend to emphasize norm reference interpretation. Okay? We can also have mastery test. It measures the degree of mastery, okay, of a limited set of specific learning outcomes and typically use criterion reference interpretation. This test is used when teacher wants to determine the mastery level of the students after presenting or giving lecture to a particular competency. It will help the teacher evaluate his or her learner's mastery. That is what we call mastery test. For the verbal test, from the word verbal, okay, it determines the ability of students in vocabulary, one in which words are very necessary, and the examinee should be equipped with vocabulary and attaching meaning to or responding to test items. For the last one, we have the nonverbal test. Nonverbal test, one in which words are not that important. Students respond to test items in the form of drawings, pictures, or maybe designs. We can also give individual tests, or this individual test is administered to a one-to-one basis using careful oral questioning. It can also be an interview. It is through an interview. Okay. For the group test, it is usually administered to group of individuals. Questions are typically answered using paper and pencil techniques. We can also have power tests, okay, and speed tests. These are also classifications of tests. When we say power test, it was designed to measure level of performance under sufficient time condition. Consists of items arranged in order of increasing difficulty. While speed test is designed to measure the number of items an individual can complete in a given time, consists of items approximately of the same level of difficulty. So these are the different types of tests, whether it is standardized tests or teacher-made tests. So I hope you have learned something about the different test formats, okay, that is usually developed by test developers or test constructors. So this will now be the end of this video clip presentation. Thank you again for watching to my video and have a good day, everyone.